Hi guys, welcome back to Geeky and the Brain, episode 2. We're going to talk some more about Hazbin Hotel today. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Nicole has some things in her note sheet, so we're just going to go off of that. I did just
I have lots of notes.
good, because we're going to need lots of notes. Last episode, we talked a lot about the characters. We talked about specifically Alistair a lot, but we also talked about Adam. We talked about Serpentius. We talked about Rosie. We talked about Charlie. We talked about a lot of different characters. So I'm sure we'll probably touch on some more characters today. But what do we got today, Nicole?
Well, we did talk a little bit about Charlie last time, but we didn't really go into too much depth about her character.
That's true.
Because we see, I mean, she's kind of, which is funny because she's the main character of the entire show, and we barely touched on her. Um, but, this hotel is her creation, right? Her whole goal is to reform sinners so that they can make their way into heaven, reduce the overpopulation in hell, rather than have the extermination. This seems to be kind of the more peaceful option. But a lot of times with Charlie, and right in the beginning, I believe Alistair says in the commercial that he makes that she's dealing with everybody else's problems and not focusing on her daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Husk later on says something very similar where he's like, she focuses on everybody else's problems but her own. And so when I was watching this, I was getting a lot of this savior complex from Charlie. Um, Basically, like the only time she's really feeling good about herself is when she's helping other people, and believes that helping them is her entire purpose. Um, and a lot of times, people that have this type of complex, they use so much energy helping that they end up burning out. And we kind of see that. I think it's in episode 6 after she goes to heaven with Vaggie and she's pitching the hotel idea and they all are not having it. And then she's just in bed, feels incredibly defeated. Um, and a lot of times, we see them sacrificing their own needs, like time and emotional space, to help others. And there's a great episode where we see her like completely disheveled and she's got like that board and she's got strings and everything going every which way. And the biggest part about a savior complex is that usually the person that has this is helping sort of for the wrong reasons. Even though she has a good reason, a lot of this complex has to do with being able to manage their own struggles. And we know Charlie's got some daddy issues, she's got some mommy issues. Um, and a lot through the series, though, we do see her kind of coming into her own. Like she kind of becomes like less of like the savior complex, but more of like there is a new purpose, and that is, you know, she recognizes she doesn't have to do it all on her own. She's got this group around her, this big support system. Um, and they all, stand up to heaven, which is incredible because they're defending the hotel and Charlie's vision. So we kind of see her own redemption in a way, like kind of growing into this strong female character. Not that she wasn't to begin with, but an even stronger female character.
When I first saw Charlie, and this is a question I have if this is part of her overall complex that she has, a savior complex. She says, what, second or third episode, I just trust everybody, so why don't you do the trust exercises? Is that her? Does she really like? Is she really like that? Because I got the sense that she's kind of just lying to herself. I mean, she grew up in hell. She grew up surrounded by all these people. She saw what they did. Like, you walk down the street, there's people like, getting eaten by cannibals or,
Hmm.
thing. We won't go into that first song, but she sees this every day. And she knows what's right or wrong. She knows what's good and bad, clearly, because she takes the moral high ground when she's up in heaven. Rightfully so, but she still takes a moral high ground. So she knows what's right and wrong. But in the beginning, especially, I'm just like, because she changes towards the end, I'm like, was she ever really like that, or was she lying to herself?
It's possible. Like, I'm wondering if it was more like she trusts everybody in the hotel. Maybe not everybody in general, but everybody in the hotel. Um, but I do feel like a lot of it is that she, again, she's trying to reform sinners. So I feel like she just kind of sees the good in everybody and is deluding herself into believing that every person in hell wants to be redeemed and has like these redeemable qualities about them. And I feel like she fails to realize like there's some people that just don't want to be redeemed. There's people there that have no desire to change who they are. And I feel like Alistair is a great example of that. Like, he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that wants to be redeemed. He strikes me as the type of guy that wants to take over hell and be the big man in charge. And so I think, in a way, it's almost like a delusional type of viewpoint that she has, that that she can trust everybody, and that um, everybody's deep down at their core is good and can be redeemed and go to heaven. Not saying she is delusional by any stretch of the imagination, but she displays a little bit of qualities. Um, and I don't necessarily know that that's part of a savior complex, more so than it's just, her not being a little immature in that way.
Fair. Fair. That's all I had for her. Charlie is, to me, she's just, in the beginning, she's so black and white. It's just like,
Mhm.
she's so cookie cutter. She doesn't have a lot of depth. She's just really excited to do this stuff that's everybody else is like, this is impossible. But I just feel that, like, because I just felt like she was just lying to herself, and that she was just, like you said, delusional. And I don't know. She's not my favorite character, just because she is the main character, but until maybe like 7 or 8, probably when she hits Cannibal Town and she starts being real with herself and with, like,
Mhm.
about Vaggie, and she's like, I got to come into my own, and that kind of thing. Until then, she was just very eh.
Yeah, and I think a lot too is when she started to kind of come into her own was when she went to heaven, and that kind of delusion was shattered.
Mhm.
Like, thinking that heaven was going to be on her side and they were going to think this was a great idea. And they're all like, and I apologize, my dogs are in here. And they're,
Hi,
you're that's actually Finnegan.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Finnegan.
That's okay. Sam is hiding. Um, but yeah, and she realizes that heaven would rather exterminate hell's population than, give them a chance to redeem themselves and come to heaven. And I feel like that's where the turning point was for Charlie, where she kind of, again, like, I trust everybody, but now she's like, okay, well, I can't trust everybody, because here I was thinking that heaven would be on my side and they would think this is a great idea, and they're like, fuck you, man. Like, we don't care about your hotel. Like, we just want to come down there and exterminate you.
Yeah. And that's maybe because I'm a cynic, and I just assume the worst out of most people. But anybody that, like, I'm trying to put myself. I never ever saw even a chance that heaven would be on that side, on
Mm.
her side, ever. So I just don't know where she got off the idea that um, that they would ever be on her side, and even not even the Adam thing. Like, they go down and they kill everybody. Like, they just go down and they kill willy nilly. Men, women, children don't matter. They don't ask, how bad of a sinner they are. They just wipe you out. So seeing that for however long she's been alive, and it's really unclear how many years or centuries or whatever she's been alive, but seeing all of that for however long she saw it, and still thinking, how disconnected was she, or how protected was she to think that heaven gave a crap at all?
Well, and I think it lends itself too to the fact that she also assumed that all of heaven knew that the
That's
extermination
true.
was happening.
That's true.
And when she gets to heaven, she recognizes, like, you guys had no idea that this is what they were doing. So I think there was a bit of, like, kind of hopeless optimism there that, oh, hey, I've come up with this solution. Rather than having you all come down and exterminate us, like, we can redeem, and then you guys can come to heaven. And it was like a reality check for her when she got there. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? What is this extermination?
Mhm.
And they still rejected the idea
Yeah.
after they all found out. And that's when we see her kind of lying in bed and she's crying. And, that fantasy that she had concocted was just shattered. And that's where I feel like we see the burnout a little bit. She's been trying so hard to help everybody else, ignoring the stuff that she's got going on. And now it was all for naught.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Got anything else about Charlie?
Not really. I mean, she's an interesting character. She's I think in the beginning she started off just very immature and she kind of grew into that, you know, really strong female presence. I do like seeing her demon form a lot. I think that just makes her look super fierce. Um, and again, wanting to see like the good in everybody, that's what leads to the deal with Alistair, right? And we don't know what Alistair's true intentions are there in making a deal with Charlie. We do see in the pilot that he tried to make a deal with her and she rejected the idea. And now she's like, okay, well, I have to save my hotel, I have to save my people, so I'm willing to do anything, including making a deal with the radio demon who has, not the greatest track record when it comes to deals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be very curious to see how that plays out in season 2, if they even touch on it. I think we've all speculated that the deal is for her to get him out of his deal, whoever he made that deal with, whatever that deal might entail. But he's definitely not one that strikes me as that wants to be redeemed. But here's Charlie thinking, the best of everybody. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's going to betray her and it is going to be a hard lesson for her.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that she does become a much stronger character towards the end. That's the whole point of any season, is to watch characters develop. But even in the final battle, she's like, she's defending and she's like trying, with her little shield, and she's like, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And she's still trying to be nice and stuff. So it's like her essence is still there, which is, I kind of said it last episode with Angel Dust, even after he starts to become a stronger character and starts to stand on his own 2 feet. You still keep the essence of him. So I think that we're still going to see her being very sweet and probably naive to a certain degree. But that, I don't think any of us would have it any other way, because even me, she's not my favorite character, but she's a great character and she's so relatable to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a therapist in general, like, from a therapist point of view, like we want to see the best in everybody and we want to believe that our patients want to be helped and want to get better. And sometimes they just don't, sometimes they really just want you to sit there and just kind of, instead of like taking what you're saying and trying, the tips, tricks, tools in the book, they kind of, they just don't want to be helped, essentially. And so I can see, where Charlie is coming from, because as therapists and anybody in a helping profession, like we just want to help and we want to believe that you want to be helped and we want to do everything in our power to get you there. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And you have to kind of throw up your hands and be like, okay, like I tell a lot of my patients that I see that have that kind of like, don't really want to get better type of quality. I'm like, I can't work harder than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that with Charlie. She's working a lot harder than most of the hotel guests. We see her kind of working really hard for Angel Dust, even going to his employer, Valentino, and being like, I need him to get time off. And she tries to intimidate him, like, I'm the princess of hell. And, then Angel Dust does what he does and shoos her out of the room. But she's working way harder than at the time than he was. Even Serpentius in the beginning wasn't necessarily the greatest person, but she put her trust in him and he almost betrayed her. But she was working really hard to redeem him. And it wasn't until he recognized like, oh, hey, like I can be better. I can be included in this group, that he started to work towards redemption. But we see that a lot with her, working harder than other people. Mimsy comes in, and yeah, I love Mimsy too. And you can tell, like, and even Cherry Bomb, like, hey, come on in here, you can be a guest. She's like, nah, not for me.
She will be.
And yet she stands with them yeah, I mean, she stands with them in the final battle, so
She
you
helps
got
to
to imagine
rebuild and
that.
all that stuff. She's coming. She'll be
Yeah,
she'll be a resident this season.
yeah. But yeah, I think I feel like if Charlie was more cynical, it would take away from her character.
Oh, for
I
sure.
I would I would definitely like to see her be a little bit more on guard, and recognize that not everybody can be trusted. I don't feel like that's the direction that it's going to go because it would take away from that, you know, wanting to help, wanting the best for everybody type of character.
I think she will to a certain extent, but I don't think she's there yet. I think in a season or two we'll probably see her be more guarded. I don't think she's I don't know how, but I don't think in her mind that she sees everything that's happened to her enough to change her trust in everybody. I think it will.
But she definitely doesn't trust the angels now. So I mean,
Sure,
we have
sure,
that.
to a certain extent, but I mean, if somebody came into her hotel, that she would like Mimsy, she would give the
Hmm.
trust that she's there for, or that they're there for the right reasons. Now that episode was a little
Hmm.
different because she had her dad that she was trying to show around, and she was trying to juggle Alistair, not pissing off her dad and everything else. But yeah, I think that she's not. I don't think she's there yet where she would be guarded to everybody, but I think eventually she will be. I think some things are going to happen in the next couple of seasons that make her just very much not, very much on the defensive when she
Well,
first
and
meets people.
especially, yeah, and especially with like the last episode where we see the glimpse of Lilith chilling in heaven on a beach and whatnot. Like she's been gone for 7 years. Charlie has no idea where she is. You see in the first episode, she's recanting the story of, how Lucifer got cast out of heaven, how they both got cast out of heaven, and how hell became, the way that it is. And I can't imagine that if Lilith comes back into the picture, I am so sorry, everybody. Uh, I have two chihuahuas, okay? Like they're very vocal dogs. Um, but I can't imagine if Lilith does come back into the picture that Charlie is going to be super thrilled to learn that mom's just been chilling in heaven and,
Yeah.
not paying attention to everything that's been going on, has let everything that's been going on go on.
Mhm.
At least, in the last episode, we see Lucifer come in and be like, all right, no, like this is enough. I'm not having this. I'm the ruler here and we're not doing this anymore. But Lilith is, from what it seems, has just kind of abandoned everybody.
Mhm.
So I'd be very curious to know like what her deal is and why she left and isn't, interacting with her daughter, with her, I don't know if it's still her husband or
I
if I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he still wears the wedding ring, but I think that it's one of
Mhm.
those he's still madly in love with her and she might not be the same. We'll see. I mean, we don't know much of anything. We see in the pilot, we saw like one piece of artwork on the wall that had Lilith and Lucifer in it. But other than that, you really don't even see what she looks like until the very end. Even,
Hmm.
he's in his office making his ducks and he throws it at a painting and it's, I think intentionally kind of blurry, or maybe it's just my really bad eyesight because I'm old. But I felt like I had to pause it and kind of look closer at the image to actually see like exactly what was going on in the picture on as well. But he's still clearly in love with her.
Hmm.
But I don't know. It's probably not the same the other way around. I'm interested in Lilith. We don't know anything about her, but
Hmm.
her daughter puts her on a pedestal. I think even
Hmm.
above Lucifer, and I'm interested to see, does she deserve to be on that pedestal? I have a theory that she is actually like she's the ruler of hell, but she's what you would think of as Lucifer. I think she has a more mean streak, mainly because she is actually human, and we know that humans are very flawed. Whereas Lucifer is an angel, and he came down and he was only able to see the bad in all the people that he had in hell, and that eventually made him very jaded and very, guarded and wanting to cut everybody off. But I have a feeling that she thrived in hell mainly because she has that connection to she is human. She has that connection. She's never not an angel. She's not perfect. And I think she's gonna be more like Alistair. That's my theory. But we'll
Yeah.
see. I think
And
she's gonna have some
and we
bad
kind of
stuff.
got it I think we got a glimpse of that too when Charlie is recanting the story of everything. Like, Lucifer's cast out of heaven, and then, you see like this depiction of Lilith, and she's, her hair is all over. She's got the red eyes,
Hmm.
almost like, and I agree with you. I think she thrived there. I think Lucifer was bitter that he was cast out of heaven. And I ascribe to the theory that he is definitely depressed. And he
We're
even
gonna get
says
to
it with the,
Lucifer in a second. We're gonna get to Lucifer in a
yeah,
second.
he even says it. I mean, when he points to the rubber duck and he's like, take that, depression. Uh, but I do get that sense too. There's just ominous type of theme, that something is going on with Lilith. And I again think Charlie's reality is going to be shattered when Lilith does eventually, what I would assume she would eventually make an appearance. And Lilith's going to have to answer for why she was absent and allowed these exterminations to happen. She's clearly aware of it,
Mhm.
because Luke comes down to her and says, this is what your daughter's doing. She's causing an uprising. And so I think she's definitely aware of it, and she's just allowing it to happen.
So since we don't know much about about Lilith, do you have notes on Lucifer? I figure you might.
Yeah, I have a few things I jotted down. So as I just said, like I definitely do think that he's depressed. He even says that he is. And that was probably one of my favorite lines. He has a couple of my favorite lines.
And
But
my
when he
favorite
points to the
song,
duck,
to be honest. It's like a favorite
he
song.
does have a good song too. He has a great song. But telling the duck take that depression. But I mean, it's understandable why he would be depressed. Again, he's an angel, he's in heaven, but because his ideals didn't line up with everybody else's ideals, he was cast out. And I believe it was Adam, I could be wrong, that said he's the most hated creature
Mhm.
in existence. I mean, I don't care how evil you are. That's got to sting a little bit, like to think of yourself as the most evil creature in all existence, and especially when we get to know him, like you can tell he's got some feelings.
Mhm.
And so he gets cast out of heaven. He's thrown into this. I mean, he's thrown into hell. I mean, it's not a great place to be. And now we've got his wife leaving him for God knows why, and maybe God does know why. I don't know. God is not a figure yet. He's estranged from his daughter, even to the point like we see, she calls him to come and check out the hotel, and he's like, daughter calling, like how do I talk to her? And he's like, hey, char, hey, this, and then when he picks up the phone, hey, bitch, like, it's just not that close of a relationship. And then even when he does come to the hotel, he's kind of trying to tell her like it's not going to work out the way that you want it to work out, and he's giving her that reality check. It's
Mhm.
like the angels aren't the way that you think that they are. And I think that that is also feeling some of his depression, is that he knows like this is just how it is,
Mhm.
and there's not going to be much you're going to be able to do about it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I thought the most interesting thing that I thought with Lucifer himself is yes, he was depressed and all of that. He has his trust issues, which he should because of being cast out. But I thought it was interesting that he's in his workshop, he's making all these stupid little ducks, and he's like, this all sucks. Like he's like, I'm creating stuff because that's what he loved to do. He loved to create. But he's creating all these ducks, and like his most you know recent one is a flame throwing duck, basically. And he's like, I want. He has the passion to create. He just can't. Uh, he's not creating what he not should, but what he wants to, I guess. But I think it's interesting. He comes to the battle at the end, and not only is he there to save his daughter, but as he's fighting, he's like laughing and smiling, and he actually looks legitimately happy. But he's not just like, throwing punches. He's like changed into a snake, and then he's a horse, and then he's like, "Where have you been the last, since Eden? Jesus, you let yourself go." And he just like, he's having fun, but it's showing he like the forms he's taking are very creative. It's not, again, he's not punching the crap out of Adam until the end. He like wraps him up as a snake, and then he gets thrown as a snake and he turns into a bird, and he's just constantly using this creativity that he has to
Mm-hmm.
fight. And then at the end, when Charlie's like, I can't, if I had just gotten everybody to play along, basically, this wouldn't have happened. But he's so excited to be able to see a future again, where he's like, I see what you're trying to do now. And he seems legitimately happy to be helping construct the new hotel, and, creating again. And
Mhm.
even creating a future for himself and his daughter again. That just, I don't know. It just feels like, not that it's broken. I'm sure he's gonna, especially once Lilith comes back, he's gonna have all sorts of depression emotions pop back up. But for the time being, just to see him actually enjoying what he was doing was kind of cool to see. Because he definitely
Mhm.
left the hotel halfway through the season in a much, you know, hopeful, but not really. He's like, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn when you get up there, but
Mhm.
I'll do what I can for you. But at the end, then he's like, I see what you're trying to do. And again, he was just smiling and happy. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think the reconnection with Charlie really helped fuel that, seeing her stand up for something that she believes so strongly in, and then, having Adam basically say, like, I'm gonna take you out here, I'm gonna exterminate you. And that's when he steps in. He's like, you're not gonna mess with my daughter. And again, you get that really great line where he's like, I'm gonna fuck you. And it's fuck you up, Dad. That's one of my favorite lines, and it just kind of goes to show how oblivious he is and how disconnected he is from the world. And you know
Sorry.
you see that he's isolated. He is in his workshop, he's making all these ducks. And yeah, I tell you, a flame throwing duck is actually pretty cool. um
It is pretty cool. But
so yeah,
considering he like was creating life and, all sorts of other things, a flame-throwing duck, possible life forms. I don't know. It seems like a step down. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I don't know. I mean, considering I am a life form, I guess that I would enjoy a flame throwing duck.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, he's isolating. He's not connected to the outside world very much. And, he finally he gets out. He's reconnecting with Charlie, and, he knows, like, this is going to be a failed experiment, essentially, because he knows how heaven is and how they operate.
Mhm.
And, then to kind of come in the final battle and be like, all right, like, this can be successful, and you guys aren't giving it a chance. And so he, enters the battle, and yeah, you're right, he's having fun, he's happy. um and it was nice to see. And so, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts if and when Lilith comes back. And, I would imagine that, again, I don't think that I think she left for selfish purposes. And I think that that's going to reignite those feelings like, hey, my wife left me and she's just been chilling in heaven. Like,
Mhm.
what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, thinking about how much they've probably gone through and stuff, like that was his, you know, I hate to use the old adage, but that's your second half. That's your other half. So if you're going through, like, yeah, it sucks. I have to be stuck in, oh, hi, Bam.
We have a special guest.
um, hi, Bam.
His birthday today.
Happy birthday, Bam. um, you want to introduce him?
This is Bam Bam. He is a Chihuahua Rat Terrier mix, as you all can see. He has one eye. Um, Not because he's a badass, and he got into a fight, but he has glaucoma. Um, so we had to remove his eye, but he is the cutest one-eyed dog you will ever see. And he is 9 years old today.
Oh my gosh. I remember when you got him.
Eh,
Jesus.
yeah, I know. Um, and he is a rescue pup. He was a day away from being euthanized in a kill shelter before the rescue organization came in. And now he is the happiest dog you will ever see, and also the fiercest protector of his mama. Nobody is allowed to touch his mama except him.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I
Um,
also have another dog that may make an appearance at some point, but that is Finnegan, and he is also a Chihuahua. But hopefully he stays wherever he's staying because he will mess with the computer.
um, yeah, that was all I had for Lucifer, just because I don't know, I liked, even though he was only in it for a couple of scenes, I liked to see the change he came from. And I mean, he's a lot older. You know,
Hmm.
he already went through his kind of character development arc before we even saw him, where he was, you know, an angel of creation and then went down there and shit
Hmm.
happened to him. But I liked his change in the few scenes that we see, and that was my favorite part of Lucifer, was just seeing his creativity come out, and how that's his life. And you don't really, as I watched it the first time, I didn't really put two and two together. But as
Hmm.
I think Bam sees me. Hi,
Say hi.
Bam. But you know, seeing the flashback where he's, you know, sitting Charlie, and you know, she was like, I used to watch you create things and show me what was in your head, and you know, I don't know, it was just a cool transformation, and I look forward to seeing more of him, and I'm hoping that, I'm sure he'll be in it more.
Yeah, I think he's going to take a bigger part in the hotel. Um,
Or even
Maybe,
just in hell. I mean, it
yeah.
seems like it seems that he's just been gone. Like he's just been in his
Hmm.
head since Lilith. Excuse me, since Lilith left. Say that 5 times fast. Um, I just feel like he's just been in his head, um, and it's not good to be there for too long. Um,
No. And because of his absence, this is where we're seeing a lot of these overlords that are, want to take over. And, you know, I know we touched on it last episode, but, the relationship between him and Alistair, like it's very, conflict, butting heads. Alistair is saying essentially that he's been more of a dad to Charlie. And of course, that's to get under his skin. Alistair doesn't, really, as we've said, doesn't really care. Um, but I feel like because he's been so absent, it's given these overlords a chance. We even see in the last episode where they say with the V's, and they said hell belongs to the V's.
mhm.
So I would hope that we would see a lot more development from him and taking a more active role in hell and kind of showing, as he showed Adam, like why he is the leader of hell, like what
Mhm.
his strength is. And um, because I think that there is going to be a battle for hell essentially,
Mhm.
and it's going to be between all the overlords and Lucifer.
Yeah.
And I would hope that Lucifer would come out on top because, or Alistair. I like Alistair in that role, but you can kind of tell that if he's the leader of hell, it is not gonna be a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that what, and this may be the last point I'll make on Lucifer. When he's fighting Adam, it's not a contest.
No.
I mean, you not once did you think, "Oh man, he got a good hit on." Not once. You know, Adam splits the ground and the hotel in half, and doesn't even touch Lucifer at all. So I think that,
He vaporizes Serpentius,
yeah,
just one
and
shot.
his whole freaking
His whole
machine.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but then you just see him, and Lucifer's just like toying with him, and then he beats the shit out of him, and then he
And
actually
he gets
shows
a
what he
hit
needs to
on
do.
yeah, and he gets a hit on Lucifer, too, or not Lucifer, on Alistair.
Mm.
Um, and I saw an interesting theory about that. And I'm inclined to believe this. Like everybody in that, we see that one number with Camilla, um, and Vaggie with the whole music, with the musical number where they're like, "You got to fight for love." Everybody there was fighting for love. The only one that wasn't was Alistair. He's also the only one that doesn't have an angelic weapon. So you can see like how overconfident he is, and in fighting Adam, he says like, "I'm gonna end your fucking life," and yet he barely lasted in a battle with him, and he's one of the most powerful overlords that there is.
Mm.
We've seen what he can do, and it didn't take much.
Yeah.
You know, Adam didn't kill him, but he very well could have
Yeah.
if Alistair hadn't run away. But Lucifer comes in, like you said, and it's no contest.
Mm.
And he could have 100% killed him, you know, but Charlie said, you know, we should show mercy, and so he did, and then Nifty kills him
Yeah.
because Charlie told her to stab, so she stabbed.
um, and I think, I mean, I think to that point too, Alistair did use uh angelic weapons with his force field. Like he had
True.
the axe and he was using it, but when it came to 101 contest, he was friggin', and he just used his own power, which obviously didn't end well. I don't know where his power stems from though, because his
Mm-hmm.
microphone broke and then he's like fuck, and then he gets hit. And it's like he became just him. So I don't know if it's, but then later on, his shadow is still, changes form and stuff. I don't know where his power comes from, if it is his microphone or if it's, I don't know. That kind of frustrated me a little bit because there's times where he's in his demon form, but he doesn't have his microphone on him. Whether it's
Well,
somehow part of him or something, I don't know at that point, but I don't know where his
well,
power comes from.
even in the story that Mimsy told, I don't think anybody really knows where his power comes from because he came into hell with, from what she said, like more powerful than anybody when they first come to hell. So I don't think anybody knows where his power comes from. And I would like to get some more backstory on that. And like I said, we've already talked Alistair to death, but you know, just to get some background, because again, like I do wonder a little bit, and I've seen this theory around too, is if he made a deal before he died.
It's
And that's
possible.
why he is so powerful. Because again, he grew up in New Orleans, you know, 1920s, 1930s. Like, you know, New Orleans is known for voodoo. They like
Mhm.
voodoo. I would not be surprised if we find out that he made a deal before he died.
I think that that's, excuse me. I think that that's very possible. And it would make sense because you think of the 1920s, you don't think of New Orleans. You don't. You think of New York
Mm-mm.
City. You think of some things going on in London. You think of there's other cities where a lot of things were happening in the 1920s, 19 the stock market crash and stuff. You don't think of New Orleans in any of those. Uh, so I think that it's very possible that they put him there, and especially the way he is, and a lot of the depictions of him from when he was alive is like he's a radio broadcaster. You don't think radio broadcaster in the 1920s. You don't think of New Orleans. So putting him in the area where voodoo would be, accepted, and especially with him being um, a serial killer, it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense that they would intentionally put him there, even though it just seems weird. And even Mimsy saying, "Oh, we used to hang out in the same areas, and he used to come to the club." I don't think 1920s jazz club and think New Orleans. I really don't. I know that there's a lot of music that came out of, uh, especially like blues and jazz, out of New Orleans, but I don't make those two connections. So I think that there's a bigger reason why she put him in New Orleans, and especially in the pilot, he talks about jambalaya and he talks about a lot of that stuff. So he's from that area. So he doesn't sound like he's
Mm-hmm.
from that area either. So I'm wondering if he went there in the intention to explore that side of him, but also to possibly potentially have that kind of pre-death kind of thing. I still think it's Lilith. My theory is, like most other
Mm-hmm.
people, that it's with Lilith. Um, I think that she sent him there to protect her daughter because of the pilot. It's pretty clear. She goes on the phone. She's like, "Hey, mom, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I don't think this is going to work." As soon as she closes the door after that conversation, the radio demon's on the other side. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, not in the actual episodes, but that's where he comes from. So, uh, yeah, that's my theory, but we'll see.
I agree with that. Um, I did want to talk a little bit about Vaggie,
Please do.
because yeah, we didn't touch on her very much. But once again, you know, going back to that one scene with Husk where, you know, he is definitely a very intuitive bartender. He probably could have made uh maybe not the greatest therapist, but you know, he has some good intuition. And he says about Vaggie that she judges others because she hates herself. And it was very interesting because this was one of the episodes that my husband watched with me. His name is Jake, so I'm just gonna say Jake from now on. And when he heard that line, he actually said, like, well, what is that? Like, what does that mean? And I said, I'm like, it sounds like projection to me. Like she's projecting her own insecurities onto others, and that's why she's judging them so harshly. And we see projection, it is a defense mechanism, and it's to protect the self, essentially, because we're dealing with this uncomfortable internal struggle, whether that be anxiety, whatever have you. And we later on learn, spoiler alert, that Vaggie is an angel. She was not even just an angel, she was an exterminator, or an exorcist, as they call them.
Exorcist, yeah.
Um, so that whole idea of her judging others because she hates herself, like there is that inner conflict right there. Like I am an angel. Nobody here knows that I'm an angel. My own girlfriend, I believe it, Charlie said of 3 years.
Something like that,
No,
yeah.
yeah, never told her. So, you know, and then when the truth finally comes out, you know, Charlie's torn.
Mhm.
You know, she's like, and we see her little rant to Alistair when they're on their way to Cannibal Town. She's like, why would she not tell me? You know, that, and the other. Um, but I feel like that's where Vaggie's stuff comes from, is that projection, like in dealing with that inner conflict. And I really loved that whole scene with Carmilla, um, you know, and Carmilla knew she was an angel, you know, she put two and two together. She's like, you know, you have one eye and you carry an angelic weapon.
Mhm.
And it's just funny to me that Carmilla could put that together, but nobody else could put that together.
Yeah.
Um, and she kind of finds a mentor in Carmilla a little bit. And I've seen theories that Carmilla might be a fallen angel, because when Vaggie is standing outside the door, she's like, "Open up this door, or I'm just going to shout, you know, to everybody what you did." And then as she walks in, she's like, "Right, you opened that door," you know.
Mhm.
And but I don't think that that's true. I don't buy into that theory too much. But I did like that she sort of found that mentor in Carmilla, and it helped her, you know, become stronger. And I mean, she was already a badass to begin with, but
Mhm.
she gets even more badass. And then, you know, you see Charlie forgive her for everything, and she's a very interesting character to me.
Yeah. I did like the forgiveness thing. It wasn't something that was drawn out. Yeah, it was in an episode. Um, and we got to see Rosie being all motherly and stuff, but I liked that they
Hmm.
didn't have this big scene of forgiveness. It was just, "Oh, I got you something. Let's go inside." You know, it was a very
A
natural,
shrunken head
which
too.
was perfect, but it was very natural and it was very much Charlie, where she's, I don't want to dwell on this. It's not worth our
Mhm.
time. So let's just move on as Vaggie is about to do this probably big long thing that she's been practicing since she walked back from Carmilla's, of what she was going to say to Charlie to get her to forgive her. And Charlie's like, "Hang on a second, don't worry about it. Let's just move on with our lives."
I got you something from Cannibal Town.
Yeah, more forgiveness should be like that. Big,
Yeah,
big gestures of, if you really cared about the other person, why do you
you'd get him a shrunken head.
you'd give him a shrink, but why would you make them go through that? And plus, I mean, she was
Yeah.
probably being eaten up as it was, but go through some long, exaggerated apology, like, you know she didn't mean it. You know that it wasn't. She only had the best intentions. So if you trust somebody and you love them, and you know that they weren't trying to hurt you, like Rosie
Mm-hmm.
said, just, it's not worth it. You know, why
Mm-hmm.
have you ever guessed that she cares about you? No, then why are you guessing it now? Why are you giving bad intentions to her when you know that she's never given you any reason to have bad intentions towards what she's doing? So, I liked that
Mm-hmm.
whole I liked that whole arc of, not arc, but that whole section of, why would you think that she's trying to hurt you now if she's never done anything to make you question that before?
Yeah, and I like that it wasn't drawn out too, like the whole um but that whole scene was Serpentious with the song It Starts With Sorry. I felt like, I mean, it was nice. It was cute, and it probably needed to happen. But with Vaggie, like I did expect there to be like some sort of musical number with, I forgive you and all this kind of stuff, and I was glad too that it wasn't drawn out because as you said, like Vaggie didn't have the intention of hiding it. She did so because, I mean, she was an exorcist. I mean, it was probably survival for
Hmm.
her. If people found out who and what she was, I mean, that could mean death,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And, she was taken in by one of the sweetest people ever in hell. And all she's ever wanted to do is protect Charlie.
Hmm.
And and we see that in the song. I forget what the song is called, but it's another duet with Carmilla, and she's like, "I'll be your armor,"
Hmm.
and so that's her whole goal. Her goal is not to deceive. It In the beginning, it most likely started with survival, and then just kind of became like, well, it's not relevant. Like everybody accepts me, everything is fine. I don't have to tell people.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, I mean, the whole reason that she ended up in hell is because she refused to kill a kid.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, why are there kids in hell? But I mean, I guess that's neither here nor there, but I
Well, we
mean,
already
that's what it
said
is.
that there's Hellborn and stuff, so it's hard to say if it was
Yeah,
kids or if it's somebody that they actually had kids there. We had that conversation last week, but
well, I did see a theory too that said like unbaptized children apparently go to hell. I don't know.
yeah, that's a
I don't
thing.
ascribe to religion.
Depending on the religion that you follow, that can be a thing.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Like she was, you know, she told the kid to run, and because of that, she was cast out. And that just goes to show like how vicious these exorcists are. Like you can't give mercy to anybody. And I do feel like if Vaggie had been upfront and honest, with Charlie right from the beginning, Charlie probably would have forgiven her right then and there. Um, she drew it out for 3 years and that's fine, but I never thought that it was the intention that she was just trying to hide it. It was definitely something that she did in order to survive in hell, and then it just became irrelevant
Well,
until they go to heaven.
how would she know though that Charlie, especially the first 6 months, 2 months, first day, whatever, that Charlie was going to be an absolute sweetheart and would have accepted her? Like Charlie's like, how what about me and about what I've done so far would make her second guess that? And I was like, because she literally killed thousands of your people over how
Hmm.
many decades, centuries, whatever. Um, like not only would that be hard for anybody to admit to even themselves. I mean, you can go look at that angle, but to your point, survival. What's to say she's not going to be, coming across the daughter of Lucifer himself, and she's just gonna be okay with it. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
and she's probably gotten the worst possible depiction of people in hell. You know that these people
Hmm.
deserve to be there. I mean, look at Lute. She completely bought into this thought that Adam spouts that you had one life, you ruined it, you fucked it up, and now you're reaping what you sow, when really we know that it's more likely than not bad circumstances, or there's more to it that makes people do. There's some just bad people, but there's more to it. um and Luke just refuses to see that. Just
Hmm.
and I think that's we're gonna see that more and more, that she digs herself deeper into the propaganda as time goes on. I think she's gonna get deeper and deeper. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket, and then somebody tries to say that basket is wrong. You're going to tell them, no, it's not, because the opposite is having to face very uncomfortable feelings and having to change
Hmm.
who you are or what you believe in. And honestly, at some point, it's not worth the energy. You're just going to go to the grave believing that, or thinking that way, or something like that. So, yeah.
And I wonder if Vaggie, after everything, like, had Charlie not extended a hand to her and helped her in her time of need, if she would have continued to buy into the propaganda of like these people are bad and, you know, I, I I don't know what I'm trying to say, but essentially, like, I wonder if that's kind of how it was. And, she had this whole idea that hell, these people are terrible, they deserve to be there. And then the daughter of Lucifer extends her hand and helps her in her time of need, brings her in, loves her, essentially. And that changes Vaggie's perception of people that live in hell. And Loot, I wonder if it would be different for her. I don't feel that it would. I mean, Vaggie did show her mercy. She lost an arm in the process, but to be fair, Vaggie lost an eye. Um, so I don't know that any song that Charlie sings would be able to change her mindset.
Mm.
Um, but it did for Vaggie. And she saw the good in the people in hell, and she bought into Charlie's idea that they can be redeemed and they can go to heaven. But she knew, because she's been an angel, like, we're going to heaven, like, you're not going to be able to get them to buy into what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't ever see Lute buying into that ever.
Mm.
That's okay.
No.
I still like her as a character. I think she's a pretty cool character. She's very interesting to me. I'm
Mhm.
interested to see where it goes from there. Mainly because she loves what she does. You can tell. She
Mhm.
absolutely
She does.
loves doing exterminations and stuff because she's, whether it's Adam propping her up or what kind of relationship there is between Adam and her, she has nothing but respect and admiration for the guy. She
Mhm.
knows he's an idiot. I thoroughly think she knows that he's an idiot.
Oh yeah.
But she knows that this is what will help get to an ending that she likes, which is she wants to get rid of everybody in hell now. It's just, that's her goal now. So we'll
Mhm.
see how it goes. What
Yeah.
else you got?
And then the last character I wanted to touch on was Husk. I love Husk. I just, especially, like, he's got such a distinct voice. Like, immediately when I heard him, I'm like, oh, it's the president from Rick and Morty. This is amazing.
Among many, many other characters he's
Among
done for
many other characters, but
not only Rick and
that
Morty,
was the
but
one
so
that
many
popped
shows.
into my head.
Yeah, yeah.
And for Jake, it was the same thing. Like, when he heard the voice, he's like, "Is that the president from Rick and Morty?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." I love Husk's character because, again, he fits in with that stereotypical bartender persona of, like, everybody tells them all, their problems, and he listens, and he's got really good insight into what's going on. Um, but we do see he's a bit of a compulsive gambler, and that's what lands him into his deal with Alistair because he, played one too many bad hands. And I also, there's definitely some substance use issues as well. Like, you can see him kind of drinking his problems away as well. But it's likely to cope with his deal with Alistair. Like, he doesn't really know how else to deal with it. And we see at the end too, when Alistair finally comes back and is, helping build, like, he's just got this scowl on his face because he thought he was free and he wasn't. But I just love how insightful he is in pointing out, like, what's going on with everybody. I love when he points to Nifty and he's like, you don't even want to know what's going on with her. Um, he's just such a cool character to me. And how the friendship developed between him and Angel Dust, like, it kind of started off as, it seemed like disdain and evolved into this really cool friendship. I mean, even to the point where people ship them together. I don't see it that way. I see it as, like, a really good friendship, maybe, again, kind of like a mentor mentee type of a relationship. But yeah, I love his character so much. I love that, in the scene in the club where Nifty is climbing on him and playing with his ears, and Angel Dust is like, just go with it. She's wasted, and he's like, fine. Um, he just seems to be like the voice of reason uh, in the hotel.
Yeah, I think that where people are coming from with the whole ship thing, because I see it all the time too. I mentioned last episode that my Pinterest board is just crochet and Hazbin Hotel fan art, um, or cosplay, which people are way too talented.
Hmm.
I gotta send you one that somebody did a Lucifer one. I have to send it to you. It's freaking wild. Anyway, side
I meant
note.
to send you a rosy one.
Oh God, that's gonna be my Halloween costume this year, folks. Anyway, maybe one day, maybe for Halloween, we'll come on in costumes. But I can see where they're coming from. I didn't notice it the first couple of times I watched it, but when the last episode, they're having a drink together, and Husk is like, um, you know, I expected you to be snorting coke off of some guy's abs, and he's like, ah, you screw one cannibal pool boy, you screw them all. And Husk goes, he kind of pauses and he gives this look like, oh, you really have changed, with this smug smile. And then afterwards, Angel's like, let's live how we want to today, or whatever he says. And there's like there's this like look that they give each other, and then as Husk goes to get drinks, Angel is it's a healthy look of like wanting to be close to that person. So I think it's still friendship. I'm on your side, but playing devil's advocate, there is some kind of, it's weird. I didn't notice it the first couple of times, but I can see where people are wanting them to be shipped together. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a side note.
Yeah.
But
You guys can ship whoever you want.
Yeah, I don't
You know, yeah, it's, I'm all about it. I do find it, with the Alistair ships are a little strange, but hey, to each their own, whatever you guys like. It's cool.
Yeah.
I also noticed that we didn't hit on really. We didn't hit on Nifty, but I'm kind of in Husk's point of view there. Like, we don't even want to know what's going on with her. I have no fucking clue. I have no idea.
I have a theory about Nifty, okay? Because you got me thinking last time about I think you and me talked about how she's probably from the 50s, and there's probably uppers involved. I think, and again, I might cut this out, future editing me, we'll see how this conversation goes. I think that she was in a quite toxic relationship. I think she was married. This is my theory. I think she was married. He was, or she was, he, because it would be 1950s, a very domineering and borderline or possibly abusive, because she has like blood spots on her dress. And that could be because she stabs things. I don't know. But I had the theory that in order to try to appease him, she tried to be perfect, and that's where her anal, like, everything has to be clean mentality comes from, especially when you watch the pilot. She's like, oh my god, this place is filthy, and it's kind of weird because you guys are all females, and I know that's kind of rude, but I'm gonna go take care of this. And then she just buzzes off and starts cleaning everything. I think it's more of like a neurotic thing, and she kind of fell into the drugs to try to maintain the energy to be perfect. Because, like, 1950s, it was all Leave It to Beaver, and women were supposed to stay at home and, look proper. Even though they were spending all day cleaning, they were in dresses, and their hair had to be curled, and they had their makeup on, but not too much. And they had to, like, it was so hyper fixated on perfection. And then you see a Nifty who's, like, just anal about cleaning everything. So I think that there was a little bit of, I think there is more to it. I think that she's a result of some kind of unhealthy, toxic, but possibly abusive relationship from the 1950s. That's my theory.
And I'll be honest, like, I went down some rabbit holes to kind of get an idea of, like, what might be going. I mean, obviously, I'm seeing the OCD component to it.
Sure.
And I mean, you don't have to be a therapist to see that there's an OCD component to her. But one of the theories that I saw that I really liked, it was very much kind of in line with that. She's 1950s housewife, probably. They liked their uppers back then. But that she killed her husband.
Oh,
and those blood stains on her dress are actually bullet holes from the police shooting her because she killed her husband.
It's possible.
I've seen that theory. Another one that I saw, one that I don't really ascribe to too much, is that she was lobotomized, and this is how she was before she was lobotomized. I know lobotomies were pretty big and all the rage back in the 1950s. I don't really ascribe to that one too much, just because I would think that when she died, she wouldn't just revert back to who she was, that she would be the same, lobotomized person. I don't know. But I do like the theory of her being a 1950s housewife, being in a relationship that was probably not the best, and most likely killing her husband. And she probably did drive herself crazy. I mean, OCD can cause psychosis sometimes. Uppers can cause psychosis. I mean, she definitely has some psychosis going on.
Oh, for sure.
to the point. I mean, she's, one of my favorite lines. Again, I know I have a lot of favorite lines, but she delivers my one favorite line too, where she's like, I sometimes kill mother bugs in front of their children.
Mm-hmm.
Before she does the trust fall. And this was the one time I literally like burst, like, spit my drink out. It was so funny. She's definitely got some things going on. She's got a screw or two loose. I would love to see more on her backstory just because I like the idea of leaving it a mystery as well because
I hope they
I,
keep it a
I just think
mystery for Nifty.
yeah, because it would be fun to speculate.
Yeah, it's fun to speculate, but it's also there's Finn. Hi, Finn.
There's Finnegan.
Hi, Finn.
They both have
What
to
a
make
big
an appearance.
baby.
Don't touch my computer.
What a big baby. I think it's better that not only just for the fun of speculation, but it's kind of like maybe we're all wrong and she's just
Nuts.
like that. Yeah. And maybe she's not even from the 1950s. She just liked the dress. Like, I don't know. I just like the idea of just not knowing her because she's just a fun character. Hi, Finn. Are you the doctor now?
I guess Finn's
I'm
going
gonna
to do the
change
rest
your-
of this podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to change your nameplate so it says Finnegan. Hi, Finn.
There
Because
you go.
he is just right in your face.
This is my life. Don't touch my computer.
Hi, Finn. So, yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the characters. Is there anything else you had in your book of notes?
Believe it or not, no, we've covered everything in my book of notes.
Damn. You had like 5 pages of notes. I had
A
none.
lot of notes.
I had none. I could just go off of what Nicole says. Because I travel a lot for work, and one of them is the Hazbin Hotel soundtrack.
Mhm.
So I watch the
I
show,
have that as well.
and I have the soundtrack on my phone so that when I'm falling asleep on the airplane, it is to Gone, which is like my favorite song. So Stayed Gone,
That's
excuse me.
a good one.
Stayed Gone is
Stayed
my
Gone.
I think it's my favorite song. What's your favorite song? We never talked about music too much.
Actually, I do like Stayed Gone. But as heartbreaking as it is, Poison is probably my favorite song on that soundtrack. It's terrible. It's terribly sad, but it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people that's their favorite. Actually, if you have Amazon Prime, you can get the album for free, obviously. But second, I think they do the whole show in order except Poison is number 2. They bumped Poison up to the second song on the album. And it has its own image. Everything else just has the Hazbin Hotel album image, but that particular song has its own image too. So it's definitely people's favorites. I hear that there's an Addict one. I'm getting the video popping up on my YouTube. That's like Addict. I haven't seen it yet.
There's one too. It was a fan made one, but it's called Insane, and it's from Alistair's point of view. That one is great, and I believe I've heard that it's also being used in Fortnite, I believe. I could be wrong. I feel like everything is used in Fortnite, so don't come at me if I got it
Fortnite
wrong.
is a soulless void of a game, okay? You guys don't want me to start on freaking Fortnite, all right? I've played it, all right? But we've been over this in the introduction of last episode. We like our stories. We like when stories make sense and there's some kind of meaning behind stuff. Do not like Fortnite because it is literally a soulless void of any kind of meaningful story that's just there to make money. I'm sorry. I said it.
She's not cutting it out either.
I'm not cutting it out. I might cut it out. I'm not going to cut this out. No, I could go on a freaking tangent with that. I don't know what we're going to do in our next episode. Nicole, what are we going to do for the next episode? I feel like we've covered almost everything that I can think of that I wanted to cover for Hazbin.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know. I think that's something we can chat about off camera.
We'll chat.
What we're gonna do. But you guys will be able to get a glimpse of what our next episodes will be about because I am going to change the cover photo in our Facebook to match whatever show we will be covering or movie or whatever.
Correct.
So you guys get a taste.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to cover. I would like to do a Fallout one, but that's going to have to be some prep work for Nicole because unlike me, she has not spent thousands of hours in each video game, painstakingly looking at a freaking dead body or a skeleton from 250 years ago, to see how
I
they
tried.
died.
To be
Okay,
fair, I did try. But I
cool.
got into the nearest town
Yeah,
and
go
I
ahead.
had, yeah, so I left the vault and I just kind of beelined it for the nearest town, which was just filled with, I don't know if it was ghouls or it was just, I have no idea. I didn't have a gun, so I just had a knife. So I lost a lot. Um, and so rather than just going back and finding supplies, I just gave up.
So let me from the Fallout gamer standpoint, we'll just regale you with this story and then we'll be done for the day. She was trying to get to the point where she found Hancock because I was gushing about
Mhm.
him because he's a very interesting character. And I think that that's something we might talk about is some of the key characters in the Fallout series. And me and her can kind of discuss what she thinks is wrong with them because there's always a lot wrong with them. But anyway, she wanted to see Hancock. I show up and she doesn't play RPGs very often, to her credit. Um,
I do.
I took
I just don't play that RPG.
okay, fine. Doesn't play Fallout very much, which is partly survival RPG too, because you have to really have your eyes down to see all the stuff. So I take over her save file to see what she's working with. She has no stim packs. She has no weapon except for a knife. She has no armor. She hasn't been looting bodies. She's been killing people, hasn't been looting bodies to get armor or any kind of useful stuff. I said, you know that you leave the vault with like at least 5 stim packs, maybe 6 to 10 bobby pins, some form of armor like an armored vault suit, and a 10 millimeter pistol with enough ammo to at least get you through the freaking Concord. Nothing.
No.
So we went back. I got her some gear, and then I freaking beelined it to Good Neighbor so she could see the introduction of Hancock. And that was about as far as I think she ever got. I don't think she ever went back.
My goal was to protect dog meat. All right, that was my goal, was to
He
protect
can't get
dog meat.
hurt.
And yeah, well, he can still yelp.
He can yelp. It is a very sad day. So yeah, she played Fallout 4, but I think that it would be fun to. I'll list out a couple of characters. But if you guys have any suggestions of what we should watch or what we should talk about, please let us know in the comments. You can also, we're going to get an email set up eventually. You can also follow us on social media and drop us a line there. I'm sure we'll do comic books. I'm sure we'll do Batman and Joker and all sorts of other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
Finn and Bam will show up. And maybe you might see Raven walk around. That's my cat. She doesn't like to come into this room very often because I'm often shouting when I play video games. So she doesn't like loud noises because she's a scaredy cat. But um, that's it. Anything else you want to leave anything off with? Anything else you want to say, Nicole?
If you haven't checked out Hazbin Hotel, do so. It's a great show, and we probably gave you way too many spoilers. But if you can always give it a rewatch. Let me know what you think. If and I just want to preface also that I know that there's a lot of psychologists out there that do these kind of things where they run through the characters and they talk about all the different psychological things that they notice. To be honest, I have not watched any of them, so if it does seem like I'm copying or it's already been said, my bad. I These are just my theories, and they don't have to be right. So that's all I got.
That's it. And we're probably gonna do more topics that are a little bit older, as we kind of work through any of like backlog that we kind of have always talked about or wanted to talk about. And we'll try to stay up to date on new stuff. But we're new to this, so
Mhm.
everything's just gonna get better from here. Each time it's just gonna get a little bit better. So be patient with us. We'll get better. Um, we'll have more things to talk about, and yeah. So that's it. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.